Going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is obviously we're part of a series where I focus on Best Picture nominees from each year. I've done such years in the past, such as 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, you clicked on this video, so you know this time around I'm focusing on the Academy Award Best Picture nominees of 2009 and ranking them from worst to best. Now, this year was quite special because, frankly, it had been a long time in which there had been a possibility of 10 Best Picture nominees. Prior to this year, it was always 5 until I believe it was 1944, but 1944 onwards, it was always 5 Best Picture nominees. So this was the first year where they said, hey, here's 10 Best Picture nominees. So I'll be ranking them from 10 being the worst to 1 being the best, and of course, my humble opinion. And I will be looking forward to hearing your guys' ranking down below. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off, my number 10, we have The Blind Side. So The Blind Side is a movie that when I saw years ago, I liked it, but just the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, it's not good. It really isn't good. I get why a lot of people like it because it is a movie where it's like, yeah, we did a good thing. But like, honestly, the filmmaking is pretty like, Sandra Bullock is good for sure, but it's a movie that its intentions are seen, but honestly, the execution of those intentions, it's like, so I get why some people might like this movie. I know that it was a huge success among audiences. But for me, I can't in good conscience just put this higher than number 10. There's a reason it's at the bottom. Not a big fan of this movie, especially in retrospect. So yeah, Blind Side's my number 10. Next up, my number 9 is Up in the Air, Jason Reitman film. Usually like his work here. I liked it, but I thought that it was just fine. It's well acted. I think that it's interesting that he's focusing on people that we often hear about, but at the same time, we never really see, especially in film and TV shows. So that was interesting. But I just thought that despite seeing people that we don't really see too often, I felt like the actual execution of the characters and their lives just was kind of, it just wasn't that interesting. I thought that the execution left a lot to be desired. And that's why it's my number 9. Next up, my number 8 is Precious. I got to read the full title. Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire. This was a good movie, but this is like a one and done kind of film for me. Every time I think about this movie, I always say it's very well acted. It's got really interesting themes and messages. It's very, very well filmed. It's just not really a film that for me has the rewatchability value of like all these other movies that I mentioned, or will mention, I should say. I can see why some people might really like this. And I do know from what I understand, at least, is that this was pretty high up there on a lot of people's lists back in the day when this came out. And I can definitely respect that. For me, again, I like it, but it's just not a film that I liked as much as all these other entries. And that's why it's my number 8. Next up, my number 7 is Up. So just like a lot of people, Up, I really like the opening 10 minutes. I thought that was exceptional. Really good stuff. Everything after that is good, for sure. I mean, I loved this movie when it first came out. But everything else is just good. I personally haven't really had the urge to revisit this film. Honestly, in my eyes, it wasn't even the best animated film of that year. I am a huge fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think that should have been nominated for Best Picture. Up is good. I get the love for it, I really do. But for me, just like Precious, it doesn't really have that rewatchability value as to something that is important for me. Like when I watch a film, I also take in consideration rewatchability value because I do think that's important. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some films where it's like, okay, the rewatchability value is not high, but it's still a great film. I think Up is a good film. Similar to Precious, it's a good film, but I don't love it the way other people do, and that's why it is my number 7. Next up, my number 6. This is probably when people are going to bail. My number 6 is Avatar. Now, look, I know the internet loves to hate Avatar. I liked Avatar. I do. I quite like it. That's why I own it on physical media. But that wasn't always the case. When it first came out and I saw it, I didn't like it. I actually hated it. I gave it, I think, a 1 out of 5. Now I gave it like around a 3.5, 3.75. But here's the thing. I think the filmmaking is so good. It does have some flaws for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of the tropes that can be seen are like, but here's the thing. The filmmaking is incredible. The rewatchability value is there. I actually got to see this film for the first time in theaters, September of 2022. And my goodness, I can see why this movie made a lot when it first came out. It's an experience. Seeing it in theaters is an experience. And I will have to say this. The physical media release of this on Blu-ray is great as well. I mean, it's really quite good. I like this film. Again, I know it's flawed, and I know that it's a story that, it's pretty much like Dances with Wolves or Last Samurai, but I still think that it's a rock solid film. But there were 5 other films that I liked more. But yeah, Avatar is my number 6. Next up, my number 5, we have An Education. This is the film that for many people was their introduction to Carey Mulligan, and it's a very well acted film. It's got an interesting story. It's really well done. I haven't had the urge to revisit it quite as much as some of the other ones I'm about to mention, but I would definitely say that upon second viewing, I probably like it just as much as I did the first viewing, because the first viewing that I saw, I really liked it, and I definitely have like a very, very positive image of this film in my head. I think it's really good, and I also remember the ending being very good. So yeah, that's why it's my number 5. Next up, my number 4 is An Education. This is a Coen Brothers film, and truthfully, when I saw this film, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I haven't revisited it, but here's the thing. This is what I love about films. Sometimes you can watch a film and you think that it's solid or good or whatever the case may be, but the more you think about it, you might have like a, kind of like a kind of reaction, or you might have like a negative reaction the more you think about something. But in the case of A Serious Man, the more I think about it, the more I like it. Like when I did my Coen Brothers ranking years ago, I know a lot of people that were like, why is this so low? And here's the thing. Maybe upon rewatch, I'll have this even higher on my Coen Brothers ranking list, because again, as I'm thinking about it more and more, especially when I was doing this ranking, I was like, yeah, I like it. It's a good movie. It's very, very good in terms of like the lead role. Michael Soberg does such a great job. I think he's a great actor, and I'm glad that years after this he got more and more recognition. He's a good actor, and yeah, I like A Serious Man. That's why it's my number 4. Next up, my number 3 is Inglorious Basterds. I like Inglorious Basterds quite a bit. It's not my favorite Tarantino film, but I do seem to be coming back to this film quite a bit. It's a long film. It's a little over 2.5 hours, but you never really feel the length because there is just always so much tension. It's very well acted. Christoph Waltz does an incredible job. Michael Fassbender. Eli Roth's in this. He's good. Brad Pitt, I think, is a hoot and a half. He's really good. Cinematography is excellent. I love the homage to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in the beginning. And again, if you want a film that is very suspenseful, this is the film for you. Also, it's got quite a satisfying ending at the theater. The theater scene is really good. I can definitely see why this film got nominated for Best Picture. It is really good. That's why I own it on 4K. Next up, my number 2. This is the film that won Best Picture. And my number 2 is The Hurt Locker. I really like this film. I think The Hurt Locker is a great, great film in terms of the directing. Catherine Bigelow's directing and the editing is exceptional. Apparently it was a couple hundred hours of footage that they got, and the editor had to somehow edit all that footage into 2 hours and 10 minutes, and they did a great job. There is a lot of shaky camera in this film, but it never feels distracting. It feels very purposeful, and that is always in my personal opinion, the difference between the really good films and the terrible films are that the purposeful nature of the editing, because there are a lot of times where I've seen shaky camera editing and it doesn't feel purposeful and it just feels lazy. Don't feel that at all watching this film. It's a very purposeful film. It's very meticulous. It's got a really good ending that when I first saw I wasn't a fan of, but the more I thought about it and the more I rewatched this film, the more I was able to appreciate the ending with what it was trying to hit home. I can definitely see why it won Best Picture for sure, and that's why it's my number 2. Next up, my number 1. This is the film that I would have personally given Best Picture out of these nominees, but I know it didn't have a snowball's chance in hell. My number 1 is District 9. I love this film. I think that of all the Best Picture nominees, I think this one had the most important themes and messages. And it's also the most interesting style, I think, because it takes like a documentary approach to the sci-fi genre. And it's smart sci-fi too. Like everything that occurs in this film, it's very, very meticulous. Peter Jackson did not direct this, for sure. But his visual effects team did the visual effects. And he also produced it. And you can definitely feel that imprint on this film and the messages that it's dealing with in terms of xenophobia, and just also like cultural division. There's just a lot of things that, especially in today's day and age, have really aged well. Visual effects are incredible. Lead performance is really good. I also like the cinematography. Again, it's got that documentary style. The score is very powerful. It's just a film that gets better and better, man. Like I still remember seeing this film like 8 years ago, thinking it was good, and then each watch got higher and higher. Now I look at District 9 as a masterpiece. But I also know why it didn't get the Best Picture win. I know it didn't have a chance because, again, it is a genre film. But at the same time, there was also another film, Avatar, that came out the same year, and that was a much higher box office draw. So, you know, if you placed Avatar against District 9, yeah, District 9 is the better film, but Avatar was a film that more people were able to get behind. But if you haven't seen District 9, I urge you to, you know, watch it. Or if you've seen it before, give it a second chance because it is a great film. But yeah, guys, those are my ranking for the 2009 Best Picture nominees. I know there's a lot of controversial takes. I know, you know, but you know what? Just got to say it. I mean, everyone's opinion is going to be different, and I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts on your ranking list of the 2009 Best Picture nominees down below. And guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done so already, don't forget the subscription, the notification bell, follow me down on Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.